I made a critical mistake when building this Lego table for my kids, and I'm hoping this video will save other people from making the same mistake. So as you can see, I have a bunch of Lego base plates here. My hope was to line the entire table with them. And I have these little strips of molding along the edges to kind of create an edge to prevent them from sliding around off the edge. And I tried to get the spacing correct so these would fit perfectly nice and tight inside all the molding. And here is the mistake I made. We're going to go over here and zoom in a bit. So if you take regular Lego plates, like these two flat rectangular plates I have here, and put them edge to edge, the gap between them is such that the studs line up with normal spacing, and you can bridge the gap with a normal brick. So the pieces pretty much sit flush against each other, and there is no extra gap between them. I mistakenly assumed that was true for normal big base plate pieces. So these really big, roughly 12-inch by 12-inch pieces that kind of come as the base for many of the like city and base type sets and things. I assumed that if you put these edge to edge, that there would also be no gap and a brick would straddle and they would sit flush. But as you can see, if I zoom in here, not too much if I can get that to focus, that is actually not true. There is a slight gap. So these big base plates do not go flush against each other if you want to span this gap with a brick. And it seems like that gap would be really small and wouldn't matter, but if you are connecting a bunch of them edge to edge like I did here, I have 6 of them along the width, that gap adds up. So what I did was measured the width of one of these pieces and just multiplied by 6 without accounting for the gap. But if you remove this piece and actually push these up against each other, that gap closes completely. But you'll see that now the studs are a little closer together and I can't actually snap a brick on there. So what screwed me over here was that gap added up across these 6 pieces, and I actually didn't have enough space between the inside edge of this molding and this edge, and I had already built the whole table without checking this, so I wound up having to go in with a router and kind of shave off some of the inside edge of this molding to make everything fit. So again, simple mistake, something I didn't check before. Remember that these big flat baseplate pieces are not the same as these here. The pieces are flush together. We have no gap. I can put a brick across them. You cannot do that here without having a gap. Zoom in one more time and show you. Tiny, tiny gap, barely perceptible. You would think it doesn't matter, but it adds up when you were building a large table like this. So hopefully you will save yourself the headache and not run into the same problem I did.